And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Tom Vasel.
Hey everybody, I'm Tom Vasel. Today we're taking a look at a game called Medieval Realms, which is possibly one of the most boring names of a game that I've reviewed in a long time. But man, that cover is really cool. That is a great picture. These huge castles and broken down. It's really cool. Now this is a game which comes in a big box, has a big board, has a lot of pieces, but the game isn't quite as big as that might make you believe. This is a game in which you are secretly picking what resources you want and then trying to outguess everybody else to get a few more resources and then buy cards with those that give you points. Now it sounds all very, very mechanical, and it is, but let me show you a little more. It looks like there's a lot going on in this game, but there's really not. Players are going to be trying to get these different cards that are available. There's a certain number of cards placed out that are available for players to get each turn. And down here underneath them, you can see the 6 cards that will be coming out in the future. So you're trying to get the most victory points. And players are going to be doing this with their own little player board. Now there are multiple types of resources that players can have over the course of the game, including you can get war, and you're going to start with a certain number of resources, but you're also going to start with several of these people here. So you have mayors. They have these funky looking yellow hats that they're going to wear. And you also have admirals and generals. And each round of the game, players are going to put a shield up, and they're going to put these mayors on this side. So wherever you put them, those are the resources that you are going to get. Everyone's always going to get to production, because production is a pretty big deal in this game. But you also get whatever I might want an extra production, so I'm going to go there. You're also going to take any admirals and generals that you have and put them on the map here. As the game goes by, you may get more of them to put on. You also might get more mayors to put on. The admirals are worth 1, the generals are worth 2, and once we reveal the shields, everyone's going to take all the resources of wherever you might be. Whoever has the highest military strength in each of these regions will get whatever it says there. So, you know, here you'll get a production token and 1 axe, and here you'll get money and 1 axe, and you get various things. Ties get everybody nothing. So you need to be winning it completely. So I could put both of these in one spot, assuming I'm going to get it, or I could spread them out and hope no one else picked that same spot. After that, players are going to be going in turn order, and they're going to be doing different actions. One of the actions you can do is activating a card. Taking a card from one of these rows and putting it in front of you. You will do so by paying the production costs of the column that it's in. And at the end of a round, these are all going to slide into downward, so they go into lower production columns. Not every card goes immediately in front of you. Some cards will go in front of whoever has the most. These cards have a crown on them to show that it goes to whoever has most. So for example, this blue one here will go to whoever has the most of this blue resource. And you say, well, why would I ever activate that card if I don't have the most blue resource? Well, this goes to whoever has the most blue resource, but you can only ever have 4 cards activated in front of you at one time. So if the person with the most blue resources has 4 cards in front of them, then this would go to the person with the second most blue resources instead. Some cards, which have an auction symbol on them, instead of when someone does this is going to go to the person who bids the most on it. And you can see this one here gives a general, so you'll have an extra general to put in play. And then players are going to be bidding with coins on this one. So some of them will go up for auction, some of them will go to whoever has the most, but a lot of them, like this one here, will simply just go in front of you. The different cards that a player has in front of themselves are going to be worth points at the end of the game, but only if you put them into play. Just because you've activated the card, it just means you have control of it. This one here, for example, is worth 5 points. But to put it in play, I'm going to need to spend 5 purple books. So I don't have 5 purple books, so I'll have to wait to a future turn. But once I do, I can spend the 5 books and then put this one in play. Now I can have 2 more cards activated in front of me. And so there's going to be different costs on these, but they're going to be the various resources that are out there. And some of them, there's battles. This is the one that will go to whoever has the most strength. These can be immediately 6 points, so if it shows a lightning bolt, it will immediately give me points. So when I build this one, it immediately gives me 2. And at the end of the game, gives me another victory point for every white card. And so some of them will give you something immediately. This one here gives you 5 coins when you do this one immediately. And some do things at the end of the game. And so the rule book will go over what each one does and how they all differ. But that's pretty much it. You're going to be playing through 7 rounds of this, and at the end of the game, you'll add up all your points for the different various cards that you've gotten that have end game bonuses to the points that you've scored during the game, and whoever has the most is the winner. There's a lot of resources in this game. I do not like the resources partially. I mean, I like that they're all different shapes and colors, that's fine, but I don't like the fact that the generals, mayors, and admirals are matching 3 of the colors of resources. That's just bad form. They should have picked 3 different colors. Secondly, there's small and large resources. With the books, pretty easy to tell apart. With the crosses, less so. I would rather they just put more resources in and said all the resources were worth 1. At a glance, sometimes it's hard to tell those apart. Now that's my negative, I guess. The positive, I really do like the art on the cards. There's a lot of cool cards in this game. Now they do reuse a lot of the art, and it may take a while to get used to the symbology. You just need to remember that a crown means you're looking for majority, and if it shows this, you're auctioning, and then in the corner, it will show you what the majority and or auction is. And the rest of them you just take and you'll pay for them later on. Some of them are fairly inexpensive, and some of them can be quite expensive. And then the way that they give points is pretty much the same on most of the cards. There's a ton of cards in the deck, but most of them play out to be the same way. The shields themselves are okay. I found that they fell over pretty easy, but they also do have a list of all the different icons and what they mean on the card. So there is that. So pretty much good components, and I thought the rules were pretty easy to understand. Now, one thing that's very critical in this game, and I didn't mention it in the overview, but I want to talk about it here, is those production tokens, the little red hammers. Each round, whoever has the most production tokens goes first. That's a really big deal. Going first in this game means I get the card that you wanted. Or maybe I put the card up for auction that you were not wanting to go up for auction at any given point. And so taking a bunch of production hammers, you'll get 2 every round, but getting a few more. Also, production hammers are used to actually buy the cards. So it's kind of like a double-edged sword there, and I like that part. In fact, this whole game is neat because it just feels different. It's weird because the game has, like, you get this board, you're like, oh, there's a little map here and stuff. That map has no basis in mapdom. You know, it is just a place to put things to get more resources. And there's no big board map. It's just a layer of cards. You don't even technically need the board. You just have a pile of cards that are out there. And so the game is really a card building, get resources and stuff that a lot of games have done before, but this game does it in a different way, and it's partially because of simultaneous selection. I really like that. I like how you have your mayors, you're going to get these resources. Then the admirals and generals, you're just trying to outguess everybody else. Yes, no one likes it when they get outguessed on stuff, but at the same time, you just got to outthink other people, but it's not everything you're getting. You're still going to get a pile of stuff over here. Then the activating the cards, you can have too many, you get 4 cards activated. You're like, I got all these cards, but until you put them in play, pay the resources for them, you can't get more cards. And getting cards is a little more difficult. Getting those combos, it's not as smooth as you might think. To that end, I don't think the game is great. I think it's good. I like Medieval Realms. One of the problems, though, with the game is I feel like as an engine building game, right when it feels like we're like, oh, now we're getting somewhere, and the game's like, also, we're finished. And you're like, oh, okay. It doesn't feel as streamlined as it could be. And like I said, there's a few small component problems. But other than that, I felt like this did something different. Yes, it has auctions in it, but the auctions are things you can prepare for. Yes, it has those area control markers. And yes, there is the occasional time, and I played, where I'm like, there's nothing I really want right now. Guess I'll just wait for next turn and save my resources. And that doesn't make a turn to be tremendously exciting. But all that aside, It does feel like you have a lot of cool things to do. That part where you're putting stuff on your board and figuring out what resources you want is both fairly quick and easy. And like I said, the whole game is smaller than it looks. This feels like a game maybe in a tiny Epic line or other smaller games that is in a bigger box and stuff. And it didn't need to be, but it's there. And when you first look at it, all these pieces, you're like, whoa, there's a lot going on here. But it's not that much really, and it is fun. So I give it points for being different. I give it points for being quick and easy to play and jump into. And for that reason, I like Medieval Realms. So there's a lot of cool things here. It's just going to be a hard sell, I think, based on the name, because it sounds like so many other games. But even if you've never heard of it, this is certainly one that you might have missed that you can check out. I'm Tom Vasel. We'll see you all next time. Dice Tower Judgment approved.